Okay, it is 4:30. I'd like to welcome everybody to 2018 and the Indian River County Hospital District. And welcome to all of those out in the audience as well as anybody that's watching us on TDV tonight. We'd like to welcome. One thing first, I've been informed that there is a change of the agenda, and under new business we will have a motion tonight by Tracy Sudans. So please make sure that you note that that'll be there then. We'll go right into organizational matters, and for this I'll turn it over to Jennifer Peschke.
Thank you. The bylaws of the Indian River County Hospital District require that the district reorganize at the first meeting of each year and elect 5 officers. Any members may make a nomination for any of the 5 offices. The 5 offices to be voted on include chairman, vice chairman, treasurer, secretary, and assistant secretary. Each office will be elected by calling for nominations, a second nomination, and a motion to close the nominations. So we will start with chairman. Is there a nomination for the chairman?
Yes, I would like to nominate Mary Beth Cunningham for chairman.
Second. Is there any discussion or any other? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to close the nomination and call for a vote.
Motion to close.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have our chairman elected for the coming year. The next office we'll call for a nomination is the vice chairman.
I would like to nominate Michael Weiss as vice chairman, please.
Second.
Okay, motion to close the nomination. Is there a motion?
Motion to close.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have our vice. Any opposed? We have our vice chairman. Next is the treasurer. Nomination for treasurer.
I nominate Alan Jones as treasurer.
Second.
Okay, is there a motion to close the nomination?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we will go forward with secretary next. Nomination for our secretary.
I'd like to nominate Anne Marie McChrystal.
Second.
Okay, motion for closing the nomination.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And finally, assistant secretary nomination.
I would like to nominate Karen Deagle for assistant secretary.
Second.
Okay, is there a motion to close the nomination?
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motions carry. We have Mary Beth Cunningham as our chair, Dr. Michael Weiss as our vice chair, Mr. Alan Jones as our treasurer, Mrs. Anne Marie McChrystal as our secretary, and Ms. Karen Deagle as our assistant secretary. Thank you all. That'll conclude our election for this year.
Thank you. Other considerations we need to agree on tonight are frequency of meetings, time and day of meetings, and the meeting locations. So I would like frequency of meetings. I do think that we should keep them to our formal meetings at once a month, and I would like to move that we keep the chairman's meetings the Wednesday before the third Thursday of the month where we have our regular meetings, if everybody's okay with that. Do we need to make those motions and votes?
You can go ahead and do a motion. And
Can we move that we just keep the meetings as we have in the past?
The one change I would like to suggest and have discussion about is the Thursday meeting. Anne Marie Suriano is now participating in Indian River Leadership. It is also the third Thursdays. Most of the times she will be out at 4:30. I would like to suggest that we move the meetings to start at 5 o'clock instead of 4:30.
That's good.
That might give more people an opportunity to come to the meetings as well.
That's fine. That's fine.
Well, while we're talking about time, is there any way that we could have our Wednesday meetings earlier than 10:30? We needed to do that to accommodate Barbara's schedule, but I didn't know if that was still in place or.
I could push it to 10.
Are you on?
10 o'clock is the earliest.
That's still important to you. Okay, well then we just leave it where it is.
Don't you think 10 is better to remember than 10:30?
Earlier is better for me. I'll do anything we can.
Can you do 10?
I just said I could.
Okay, why don't we do 10?
Okay.
And 5, okay? So 10 is
So
chairman, 5.
10 chairmans, 5 o'clock on the Thursday meetings, and we'll
Third
continue the
Thursday
whole
and third Wednesday.
Third Thursday and the Wednesday prior to that, and here, the Thursday meetings here at the Commissioner's office.
Okay.
Everybody good?
Good.
Okay, moving right along. The consent agenda, I'd like to hear a motion for approval of the special meeting minutes dated December 5th, December 7th, December 8th, December 9th, the chairman's meeting minutes dated December 13th, the regular monthly meeting minutes dated December 14th, and a January disbursement of, Mr. Jones?
$1,303,585.15.
So moved.
Is that different from what is on,
Different than that.
and what's on,
And what's on the
there was a
sheet?
change? So could you repeat that amount again, please?
What was the number?
It's $1,303,585.15.
Okay, thank you.
As Kate tells, yeah, it's a couple $100,000 difference. And we got some bills that came in late after the agenda had been published, but before this meeting, and we need to pay them.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just want you to know I got to do that last month. It was very exciting to read those numbers.
And you did it so well.
And you did it so well, yes, you
Good,
did.
we have a future treasurer. This is good.
Yes, we do. Okay, under District Chairwoman, I will be sending out, again, committee preferences for hospital committees as long as there will be hospital committees for us to be on, okay? So if you could put in your preferences, what you want, and then we'll make a decision on who's going to be on what going forward, okay? Appreciate that. That's all I have right now. Jennifer, District Council?
Okay, we did the election, so other than the election to talk about for me, just that we've continued to work, of course, with the retained special transactional counsel through the law firm of Gray Robinson as we go through this process with regard to finding a potential partner for our hospital. And that is really what is consuming quite a bit of my time on behalf of the district during the given month. That's it for me, unless there are any questions at this time.
No questions? All right, Mr. Jones, financial statement review.
Okay, thank you. I'll go slow, Anne Marie. So, sorry, I'm just kidding. There's two things that I thought we ought to talk about today. One is the brief summary, which will be quick. The other is a motion that I'm going to propose on funding the gap in the hospital. I'll explain all this. Overall, the district's in sound financial shape. As of the 31st of December, our combined bank accounts totaled a little less than $13.8 million, including reserves and our expenditures for health programs as well as for administrative expenses are running slightly below budget. And so therefore, after the first 3 months, we're in good shape. There is one item carried over from the last fiscal year which we need to address. You may recall that in the last fiscal year, our budgeted amount for indigent care at IRMC was $5,763,036. The actual expense incurred exceeded that and totaled $6,337,961. And the hospital has requested reimbursement for this cost of providing treatment for district-eligible indigent patients. In the past, we've always done this, but it's certainly up to the discretion of the trustees. In the interim, since the hospital's request, Anne Marie Suriano reviewed with hospital officials the billings of each patient and verified that each patient met the district definition of eligibility for indigent care. In total, it's recommended by me that the trustees approve reimbursement for these services, which exceeded our budget by $574,925. However, It's also true that in the Partners in Women's Health program, about which you'll hear a lot more in a few minutes, that Partners program operated below the budgeted amount by $204,107. And in addition, we've already approved at the last meeting an incentive payment earned by the program of $55,000, which, while approved, has not yet been paid. Therefore, I move that we net all these numbers out and approve a payment to IRMC for the net amount of $425,823, which reconciles all three of these items. This amount is included in our budget for this fiscal year and is well within our anticipated expenses for the current fiscal year. That concludes my report, but I have made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion?
In regards to the information that Anne Marie Soriano went over, everything was specific billing for indigent care, fee for service only.
Yes.
Okay. And in doing the net thing that you just did by that includes the incentive that you're that paying to the Partners program bonus versus minus what they were under budget. So you kind of, it includes the bonus.
Yeah,
Okay.
let me explain it a little more clearly. We overpaid them by $204,000 and change, and so they're going to pay us back. We underpaid the hospital separately by $575,000, and then we had the bonus payment of $55,000. When you net all that out, the net difference is $425,000.
Okay, and we paid the bonus for a contract we had with them last year. We're going to discuss the women's health.
Yeah, I'm going to
Later.
do that later on this
Okay.
evening about next year's or this year's program.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
The partners bonus is intended to go to those, to the hospital, somehow related to partners, though,
That's
right?
correct, yeah. Warren Fuller's here from the hospital. He can confirm this, but the $55,000 last, I'm going to go over this in a little bit, but the $55,000 last year went into the partners account and actually funded $30,000 plus equipment that partners really needed that didn't have. And so that's really what happened to that.
So-
It's not really going as incentive payments to people. It's just going to fund the program.
This $50,000, is this going directly to the Partners program or to the hospital general fund?
No, that's what I'm just saying. It goes to the hospital general fund and is then transferred. Warren, you correct me if I'm wrong here, but then it's transferred to the partners account.
It is.
Okay.
So that's what it is.
And to be used at their discretion for not necessarily program as in
Well, it's to be
people.
used at their discretion for the partners program. And that's
for the
what-
partners program, so it can be used for capital improvement.
That's right. And they, in fact, did that last year.
That's what you said.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Would we have a report on what that is going to be used for at a later time?
Yeah, I might as well do my presentation now.
Oh, sorry.
we
No, then
have-
I
have a motion on
apologize.
the
Go
floor.
ahead.
I
The,
think we have a motion on the
We have
floor
a
that
motion on
needs
the
to be
floor
voted
to
on
give
first.
this money
Yeah,
to the
but
hospital.
I should answer Karen's question. It's a proper question. The collaborative group discusses all this in concert with Warren, with Dr. Bagay and others from partners, and so we have say in it. Yeah. Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, given that Anne Marie is not here yet and probably will not make it in time for that, we can move right into the IRMC monthly report, which is the partners report. So it's good you brought your water.
Yeah, that's right. So I think I'm going to move the podium just to see what that's like.
I wish you would.
I think that would be great.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Switching it up.
Is there any quick way to get there? I guess there's not.
No,
We could jump over here, but it would probably be better to go down there.
I would prefer you not jump. Thank you.
Oh, you have a jacket. You're so prepared for this.
So, welcome, Mr. Jones.
How do I advance these slides?
Right here,
Okay.
just, you're going to click it. We have to get Adam too.
Well, I clicked it, nothing happened. What do you do then?
There you go, he's got it, he's got it.
Patience.
Say his name.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I think it would be good if you introduced yourself and what your relationship is to the
There,
topic.
just one click. Do you want me to go back?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Just this.
All right, so yeah, it's a little easier to sit and talk, I guess, than to stand and talk. Now, my name's Alan Jones. I'm a trustee on the hospital district, and my partner in working with partners is, where'd she go?
She's right there. She's right
Am I
behind.
overlooking her? So Kathy is from the board of directors of the hospital, and the two of us oversee the partners program in a and lead a collaborative group, which includes, I can't get this up any higher, and I don't want to bend over. So, and we started this about a year ago, and the purpose of this presentation today is I think we have a center of excellence in our hospital that is not as widely talked about as the cancer center and the health center and the endoscopy unit. I don't know why that's true. Maybe it's because that was funded by philanthropists and this is funded by taxpayers. But either way, this is a really outstanding resource in our hospital that everybody should appreciate. And I wanted to give you a little history of the program because I think it's helpful to put it all in context. And then at the conclusion of this, I'm going to propose that we approve metrics for next year, as Tracy Zudan's referred to. But I think before we do that, you should have all this history. And not everybody was here when we went through all this. Essentially, the Partners in Women's Health program was established by the hospital district in 1995. And it was as a result of significant concern over the infant mortality data of Indian River County versus other counties in the state. And in our county, infant mortality was a good 25% higher than the statewide average. The purpose of the program is to provide prenatal care for indigent. And initially, at the time, there were 8 private practice obstetricians in the county, and I think it's safe to say that none of them accepted Medicaid patients. And so we had an issue where women showed up to deliver a baby without having had any care in advance. And so the whole purpose was to try to avoid problematic births. And the more I push this, the less is happening. So anyway, maybe you can advance it. So the district issued an RFP, thank you, and accepted an offer from IRMH Inc. at the time to establish this program. And the initial program had 1 OB, 1 obstetrician, and 2 midwives. Prior to this program, the county health department provided prenatal services, and the district reimbursed those services to the tune of $943,000 in 1994, or maybe it was 1995, and the initial year was only $635,000. Again, would you advance it? This one's not working. This is a summary of the district expenses. I've given you a report that shows every single year, but I've just highlighted a few. And so while the Partners program cost the taxpayer $635,000 in 1996, the expenses gradually grew until 2011, 12, and 13, and 14, it was $2.1 million. We then did a review. Oh, I get a new one. Thank you. We did a review and modified the Partners Program, and as you can see, since then, the costs have been significantly less. No, it's going backwards. Well, okay, I'm helpless on this.
No, you're not. We got it.
He's challenged.
Okay, so click that button right there.
And we decided to set up a different kind of program to take a little bit more control, and that's when Kathy Hendricks and I became kind of co-heads of this effort. And we established a collaborative advisory committee led by, as I said, myself and Kathy, but also including County Health Department, Healthy Start, Treasure Coast participants, because all of us in some way have some impact on this infant mortality metric. Right now we have 5 obstetricians and gynecologists. You can see them listed there. One of them is Dr. Felix Begay, who's the managing physician here. And Felix, we really appreciate what you do. Incidentally, Megan McFall is also here, who is the Director of Women's Health at IRMC. And I asked Kathy and Megan and Felix Begay to assist me in this presentation, and they deferred. They prefer to sit here and get recognized, which they deserve the recognition. They're going to let me take the heat for the presentation. But they really, and all of the physicians are well-trained, well-educated, and specialists of a high order. As a result, 75% of pregnant women in our county now receive what's measured as adequate or better than adequate prenatal care. And that's measured by what's called the Cattell-Chuck Index, which is a nationally recognized index on this metric. But the state average is 63%. So we've made dramatic improvement in our and continue to provide this prenatal care to any woman who happens to be in need of it. At the same time, maternal mortality is 0 in our county for the last 7 years or so. And hopefully that's going to continue to be the case. The state is not 0. So that's a marked difference, even though maternal mortality is quite rare. And we measure neonatal mortality, and so while we've made a lot of progress in maternal care and prenatal care, we still continue to have neonatal mortality rates that are slightly worse than the state. We average 4.5 infant deaths in the first 30 days after a live birth, and the state has averaged 4.2. And it's pointed out that we have relatively small numbers, about 1,100 births per year in our county. So 1 makes a big difference. But it's not 25% worse than the state like it was when we started. But there's a way to go. I'm going to try to advance this, but I may need your help. No, it's not going. Oh, this one now. It gives me this, so. All right. This is some data that some of you are familiar with, but your eyes really should not glaze over at these numbers. But I think it's worth talking about. This is neonatal mortality for a 3-year running period for the years ending as indicated. In 2016, as you can see, most of the mortality is occurring in the black community. The white community is much better than the black community, but it's about the same throughout the state. The Hispanic community in our county is dramatically better, not only than the white experience and the black experience, but also the statewide average among Hispanics. And so I'm not quite sure what they're doing, but they're doing something right, and we need to follow that. Now, incidentally, even though the program started to try to affect or improve infant mortality or neonatal mortality, which we measure now, The facts are that the health department estimates that prenatal care is about a quarter of the impact on this mortality rate. Most of it is the health factor or the social factors of the individual. Dr. Begay has told me that he estimates that 70% of the women going through Partners have at least one high-risk factor. High-risk factors include obesity, drug use, alcohol use, smoking during pregnancy, and there are a number of others. And 70% of the Partners patients have at least one of these high-risk areas, and yet, despite all that, the Hispanic numbers are really high, are really superior, and we need to figure out what they're doing. So, because of our collaborative effort, we've got involvement with the health department. And the health department is working on improving these disparities as well. Partners can't do it by itself. It's got to be a collaborative effort. And so the Gifford Health Center, which we fund, Miranda Hawker, is she here? I don't know. Yeah, here's Miranda, who's also works on our collaborative group, has suggested that we provide some OB services at the Gifford Health Center to make it more convenient for the mothers to be able to get there. So we've started that in January, and we have I've forgotten what the ARNT, what is that? Nurse practitioner that is going 1 day a week at the moment, and we're going to monitor to see if this helps improve appointment. And but this is a step toward trying to impact the neonatal mortality in our county. Healthy Start. I don't think anybody's here from Healthy Start. They have their open house tonight, which I said, why would you do it when we're doing this? But I guess they didn't know about this at the time. But they've established another program which the district funds part of separately, but also as part of Partners, to try to have a newborn home visit nurse program. And these home visits occur, and they're actually trying to get approval for an additional program, which is an experiment to try to get 25 mothers to sign up sort of from day one for these home visits. We'll see how that goes. Breastfeeding in the hospital turns out to be important to get that started early, and they do classes with women on nutrition and infant care, but also the importance of postpartum care. One of the things we discovered in our analysis was that a lot of mothers come in for the prenatal care, but they don't get the postpartum care, which is available in Partners. So we're now tracking that. Last year we had over 90% of the mothers come back. So each one of these things requires a little bit of effort. And Healthy Start is doing also prenatal risk screens and is identifying high-risk mothers up front. And then we got the Treasure Coast Community Health. Is Vicki Soleil here? She's at the open house. But she was at our meeting today, and they provide dental exams and cleanings and also the education to improve oral health, which turns out to be a really important factor. So what it turns out is that we can't do all this just through our one program. We need a collaborative effort in order to have the impact on community health that we want to. So beginning in fiscal year 2015, we adopted a more formal approach. We had a formal agreement for one, which has been approved. We established an advisory or collaborative committee that I referred to, headed by Kathy and myself. We agreed that the district would fund the actual net operating loss, not just then a program amount of, at the time, $2.1 million. And we would cap that loss at $1.325 million in any one fiscal year in case it exceeded that. However, we're going to have to review that every few years, particularly if we add special services that we're trying to get for really high-risk babies. We set up annual performance metrics And we provide an incentive bonus that's tied directly to those metrics. The trustees determine the amount of the actual program bonus payments to be made, if any. But the idea is that the bonus payment would go to the program for important, to enhance the program and make it better. And as I said a minute ago, last year, $30,000 worth of new equipment that has been sorely needed and requested for a number of years, as I understood it, was purchased. And there was going to be more associated with the Gifford Health Clinic. We talked today about trying to buy a portable ultrasound piece of equipment so that we could have that to Gifford Health. So that's what that incentive is intended to recognize. In 2017, our metrics revolved around these 4 items: neonatal mortality, the Cattell-Chuck Index, first trimester prenatal care. We found that a lot of women weren't able to get their appointments quickly, and then overall patient satisfaction. For 2018, we proposed the following. And actually, Kathy Hendricks came up with the idea, which we all thought was a good idea, that we take these metrics and divide it into 3 broad categories. 1, healthy infants, 2, healthy mothers, and 3, patient satisfaction. And then with each of these components, you can see the weightings there, we would have various measurements. Neonatal mortality, the Cattell-Chuck Index, the first trimester care, initiating breastfeeding in the hospital, postpartum visits by the mother, as I referred to earlier, and elective induction before 39 weeks. That's an area in which this group has already established high standards and basically has none. They don't allow induction for healthy mothers on an elective basis before 39 weeks. Healthy mothers, as you see, we can measure the maternal mortality, which I talked about, also the primary C-section rate, and any infection rates associated with C-section. And then we have a metric for patient satisfaction, which would be the same as we've done. And what I'd like to do is to recommend to the trustees that they approve these metrics and that we approve that an amount up to 10% of our actual expenses be set aside at the end of the year to be awarded to help enhance the program of partners, but only to the extent that it's earned through accomplishing these metrics. So with that, I've done my part. Now, any questions you have, I'm going to refer to Warren, Kathy, Felix, or any number of other people. But in any event, that's where we are.
I have one comment to make about the bonus part of it, and I like to hear that we're purchasing some capital items. Coming from the world of nonprofit, it's very difficult to raise those kind of dollars. Program dollars, not that they're ample out there, but they're certainly acquired much easier than capital dollars. And so what I would like to see those dollars used, if whatever the bonus is to enhance through capital purchases of some sort rather than to the program part of it.
Okay.
So I have a couple questions, Alan. Are you done? I'm sorry.
Yes, I am.
I would like to see what the goals are on these metrics.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have said that. They're to be better than the state average.
Better than the state average. Every one of them
Every
has
one of them except for postpartum visits by mothers, which there is no state measurement.
Okay.
So our objective is 90%.
90%? Okay.
Or better. And what's the other? Patient satisfaction. We use our own survey that's modeled after the HCAP survey that is done for the hospital. But they provide that survey to every mother that comes in for postpartum care. So last year we got like 91% of response rate. So that's pretty good measurement of patient satisfaction. It's not just a random sample. It's And last year, 91% of mothers. Everything else is based on statewide,
Right.
nationally recognized numbers, and we're just trying to be better than the state.
My other comment would be, if in fact it's a collaborative effort, and it takes a Healthy Start and Treasure Coast and all that, is there a way that the bonus can be a collaborative bonus and not just go to the partners?
Well, we talked about that some today. And the whole purpose is to enhance the program. But right now, we're not doing that. But I'm not saying we can't do that. It's not something I really thought about till today. We put the money in to do
Why
it.
would we want to do that? Why would we want to, if this is for this program and to enhance the overall program, what would the others use it for?
Well, I look at, and again, I was at the
I know where
Healthy
you're going with this.
I was at the Healthy Start last evening, their new place, and they were talking a lot about this, and I think it's the excitement around all of this is really wonderful. I mean, and the enthusiasm is wonderful in it. So, and they were talking about the nurse visit. I met the nurse who goes out after the baby's born and visits, and they're only touching a small piece of it, okay? And so, yeah, my mind goes to, well, if you're trying to improve these metrics, and they're a piece of it too, and they could contribute to it, does a bonus not just go to the hospital, but go to those that contributed?
Yeah,
It's just a thought that I had.
I agree. And I mean, what they're planning, it's not just to go out for one visit
Right.
postpartum or have the mother come back postpartum. But this continues beyond. And and I think Healthy Start is developing these programs. Will probably be coming back in some way or seeking grants from other sources, I'm sure, for some of these programs, because it doesn't end with the birth. From 0 to 3, if you're not feeding the child right, the child is not going to develop. So where is that collaborative effort beyond birthing? There's a lot to this, and it opens up. And, you know, it's a wonderful program that has been developed and will continue. But it makes for healthy children then, not just infants, but healthy children going forward. And then education of mothers in not repeating some of the poor behaviors that might have caused some problems. This is huge and should be expanded, and I'm sure that the task force is looking at all of that.
I think I failed to mention that we're the only county that does this. And it's a pretty unique program to have our district use tax dollars to fund infant care like this. The idea that Mary Beth is talking about did surface today, and I think it has merit. But I can't commit to it at the moment because there's a lot of parties involved.
Yeah.
But the whole concept of the incentive payment is to generate funds that would be reinvested back to enhance the program. So that could include, from my mind, Healthy Start. But, I mean, for example, I think the hospital's already funding part of Healthy Start. They've certainly got a collaborative with them, with partners that started before we got started. And that's costing somebody somewhere. So I don't really know all the details of that. Can't commit to it, but I like the idea. It's worth pursuing.
I have a question. In regards to the incentive and the bonus, and I've brought it up before, the Partners program is fantastic, and I love the matrix and measurements so that we can see improvement. And the physicians, the staff, and everybody involved in it are doing a fantastic job. What I am not really okay with is the idea of an incentive or a bonus to make those metrics happen. And if they're if the bonus money or incentive money is just going to capital purchases and things like that, those monies should be able to come from somewhere else and not necessarily a bonus incentive structure. Is the incentive and bonus absolutely necessary? Because I don't necessarily think that it is. They should be working on these matrix, and we should be seeing improvement regardless of the incentive.
Well, from an academic point of view, I kind of agree with you. But from a real life point of view, I think that you've got to be able to establish that the program is effective. You've got to be able to prove with data that you're making a difference in people's lives.
But we don't do incentives or bonuses for any of the other programs that we
Well,
fund.
actually, I don't think that's quite right.
Okay.
I think that the hospital, from their physician agreements, have all kinds of metrics about quality and about quantity and about how many patients they're going to see.
But the district isn't giving them an incentive or bonus.
No, we're not talking about doing that. We're talking about just reinvesting funds in this program. And what I understood, so is it absolutely necessary? In my view, yes. If it's not going to be done this way, then we might fall back into what happened before, which was we ended up with a grant of $2.1 million that went to this program. And I don't know how much of that money was actually in terms of going exactly to partners. My analysis was not all of it went to what I considered partners, and which means the prenatal care and the postpartum care for indigent women and other women in this county. So I think the metrics get everybody focused on the same page. You even said you approve of the idea of metrics. You
I
just
like
don't
the
have
metrics.
the
I
idea,
just don't like the
approve of
incentive or
idea of
bonus.
rewarding for that. And I approve it, so we have a difference of opinion. I don't know how else to say it. I think when that money goes back into the program, the whole community benefits. And when I just found out this today, that of the 55,000 bonus, 30,000, a little over 30,000 went for equipment that Felix and Megan have been asking for years. And this year they got it. Why? Because we provided this incentive payment. Now we could give them a blank check and just say, we hope you'll spend this wisely. I prefer to tie it to metrics. I come from the business world. That's the way it is. People do what they're paid to do. And I'm not talking about giving incentive payments for doing their job. I'm talking about doing only where there's exceptional results.
Alan, can I point out also, just for all the trustees and the public's benefit, all of our funding agreements say this, and as the partners agreement also does say, at all times any incentive payments are at, and these are the words, the sole discretion of the trustees and shall be subject to the district trustees' right of annual appropriation. So that is in here.
That's right.
What Alan is proposing as well.
Right.
That's why it's a yearly.
So just so you understand that's there.
Yeah, I understand.
And it's 10% of what
the actual
or what the actual payment, 10% of whatever we
this
pay.
year,
not what we budget, but
That's-
what we actually pay them, because
That's
it's
right.
a fee for service. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's what we're proposing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
But we approve this every year.
Right.
So last year we honored what we approved, and now we're discussing whether we're going to do it again next year. And I think this is a program with great merit. And as I said, I think everybody is in agreement that the Partners Program is one of the resources of our hospital services created by the district. I mean, it's executed by the hospital. And Healthy Start and the Health Department and Treasure Coast Community Health and others. But at the end of the day, it was initially a district program to try to impact community health.
Right. I don't know as the community has really understood the Partners Program.
I don't either.
I don't know as all the trustees have understood the ramifications and the thoroughness of the Partners Program and who it involves and what it involves and who is being cared for. And I think maybe there's some work we can do on this Partners Program. People are going to continue to have babies in our community.
It is a work in progress.
We do know that we don't have 8 or 9 obstetrician gynecologists or obstetricians like we used to working privately in the community. That's a day gone by. We have wonderful physicians now, part of Partners Program, and a couple that are in private practice. So to look at this program for expansion and to see, strategically how it can be refined and developed even further. And of course, I think to include O to 3, because I think that's very important. So I think it's probably something that we could look at and work on for
What
the
do you mean
benefit
include
of the
over
community.
3? You're talking about children over 3 years
Zero
old?
to 3.
Zero to
to
3.
3, she's talking.
Yeah,
Oh.
0 to 3.
0 to 3.
Those are critical years for the development of a brain and of a body.
I guess I would like to say that, first of all, I'd like to commend all of you that are part of the collaborative group, because I think, all of you.
Thank
okay. Because it's really, really important. And starting a baby's life, keeping them alive, having them be alive and then having them be healthy is the first start to then growing them healthy.
Right.
And that's a really important thing. I'd like to echo, I guess, reinforce, I believe that this is what the district should be doing.
It's all
okay.
about.
And what we're all about is finding where those gaps are in the health for our citizens, and then working together with the appropriate agencies to fund and make them better. And that's exactly what you're doing. So I give you all a lot of credit for that.
Yeah,
And
I think
do
it's a great
support it.
team. I echo that with all the 5 docs, including Dr. Bagay and Megan and Kathy and Miranda and
They
Vicky
might have
Soler.
changed their mind. They might want to speak.
Yeah, maybe they want to defend themselves now.
And just so I'm clear, I like the program. I think the program is valuable to our community. I just don't like the incentive and bonus
Okay.
and the way that it's written here.
I understand that. Nonetheless, I've made a motion that I would like for us to adopt. I hope I'll get a second. That we would adopt the metrics as written in your packet, and that we approve the incentive payment program, if earned, as described in your packet.
Did we get a second on that?
Not yet.
Go ahead.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Okay.
I'd
Any
also
other
like to
questions?
comment.
Do you have any questions for Megan or Dr. Bagay, or I'll go resume where I can vote?
Dr. Weiss has a comment.
Well, I have a comment. I agree with Tracy, and I've been from the very start opposed to the idea of a bonus type of thing, an incentive. I really don't think that's a necessary thing, and I think it sets a very bad precedent.
I couldn't disagree more.
I understand you. I know that.
So I actually think it sets a precedent for the way we ought to be dispensing all the public funds, is that it ought to, but that's for another matter. But I could not disagree more.
I have one last question. What was the total bonus amount that was provided
This
last
year?
year? The one that
50.
they used, the 30,000 for?
55,000.
55. So what about the rest
The
of
other
dollars?
25,000 went into the program. I have to defer to Warren exactly where that money was spent, but it ultimately went into the P&L, so it might have actually offset. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I do want to mention that in today's healthcare world, that if you have good outcomes, you do better. If you have poor outcomes, you take a hit. And so this bonus, I think, is very appropriate.
Any other discussion? Since we have a motion on the floor and it's been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
oppo-
Can I vote from here?
You can vote for
Okay.
there. All opposed?
Thank you.
Nay.
And thank you.
Dr. Weiss?
And
Your name?
Tracy.
Okay, yes, I understand. Okay. Anne Marie, since you have come back, welcome back. And we'll move. If you don't.
Put me on the spot. I thought maybe you jumped over
No, we didn't forget about you, believe me.
me, which is fine. I think only a couple of updates. One is the Human Services Building. We are moving along. Part of the work has been, all of the work around maintenance from the proposal that we had mid-year last year, I think. The work that we had done by TLC Engineering and proposed some dollars in the revenue or in the reserve account for maintaining and updating that building have been done. Almost all of the electrical work that was on that list has been completed, and they have drawings in place, and we're waiting for the survey to do the larger work that needs to be permitted, which is the moving of the dumpster cage outside and the refencing around the air conditioner equipment and the renovation of the bathrooms on the first floor to make those ADA compliant. So that is the last of the work that will need to be done, depending on permitting and how long those permits take to get. Probably in the next 90 days, we should be completed with that work. The VNA is paying all of the invoices, and then we'll be reimbursed all in one, just like we did for the Gifford Health Center. So that is the piece for that. I have just come, the reason I was late, which I don't know if that was announced or disclosed about why I was late, yes. But from the first of 7 of the monthly visits and classes of the Leadership Indian River County, which is put on by the Chamber of Commerce. And I have been asked to participate in that, and I have willingly participated in that. And I think it's going to be a really great group. We've already met a lot of the people. Today was Government Day, and so I've been in this room and around the county. We visited the jail. We visited the new IG Center, which was quite impressive, I have to say. And the supervisor of elections, and so we had some discussions in all of those places. Next month will be an education session, so we'll ride a school bus around and visit some of the schools and some of the activities that are happening for education within our community. So I think other than the partnership process, which is a consumption of all of our time, which is a good consumption of all of our time, is moving along, and that's where the bulk of my other time has been spent.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Funded agencies report. Miranda. As part of the collaborative and everything, you're on.
First of all, thank you for letting me give you this update, and I did want to comment on the Partners Program. I can tell you I'm very excited that they have agreed to come to Gifford Health Center, which is your facility, 1 day a week. This week we started. It really was wonderful to see their staff was excited about being there. Dr. Bagay from the beginning was so receptive when we went over the data and looking at the census tract information for infant mortality in the Gifford area. It's so important, the services that we offer there. We've been working with the Healthy Start Coalition as well to try to secure a program. Anne-Marie, when you spoke about those ages from 0 to 3, we are actively working on getting funding for the Nurse Family Partnership, which is a program that visits women up until with their children up to the age of 2. And it's weekly support prior to them being pregnant, and then it starts out weekly just after the baby is born, and then stretches out a little bit in terms of time. But those are visits by a nurse. And the data from that program is absolutely amazing. But I can tell you, Megan McFall from the hospital has also been exceptionally great to work with. So there are very good things happening when you talk about women's health and care for infants. So I can't stop talking about that. But that's not why I'm here. So what I'd like to go over is our quarterly update, and really it's July through December 2017. So I'd first like to look at our Vero site, and you have our payer mix there. About 68% are self-pay, and historically the percentage of our adult patients as uninsured is high. Now 31% roughly are covered by insurance, Medicaid, Medicaid managed care, or Medicare, and overall 83% of our clients are 150% or less of the federal poverty level. We saw 6,146 unduplicated visits July through December in adult health, and of these visits, 28% or 1,722 were indigent qualified visits. However, when you look at the self-pay category for those self-stating income, 83% of the self-pay visits were indigent, or 3,948 visits. Our continuing challenge is to be able to get our patients to fill out the paperwork, and what we've done to try to help that is we've changed our fee policy. So I'm hoping that that number of indigent qualified visits can go up. Now, that being said, because of that disparity is not sustainable, so I can speak about that a little bit later. And when you look at the profit and loss statements, we are actively working on that issue. So as well, you have the payer mix and you have the number of clients in each of those areas. So overall, we had 4,434 clients July through December. So for Gifford Health Center, as I already mentioned, Partners has begun a half-day clinic starting this week, and we think that is going to grow. We also, our Healthy Start will be bringing their childbirth classes to Gifford Health Center starting in February, and I think that's going to be a great supportive service for the moms there. A much smaller percentage of our clients in pediatrics are self-pay at 31%, and 86% of our patients are 150% or less of the federal poverty level. In terms of pediatrics, the clients covered by Medicaid is at 63% for managed care, and Medicaid, which is a much smaller proportion, straight Medicaid, at 1.63%. We saw 3,384 visits in July through December, and of this, 193 were indigent qualified visits. For the self-pay category by self-stated income, 79%, or 781 of the total unduplicated visits were indigent. And again, that's a proportion we're working on, hopefully to bring that number up for those that would be qualified as indigent by our fee policy. For our dental clinic, a majority of our patients in dental, 50%, are self-pay. We saw 2,053 dental clients during that period of time. 49% are covered by insurance, which is a mix of Medicaid, Medicaid managed care, Medicare, or private insurance. And 89% of our clients in dental are 150% or less of the federal poverty level. We saw 3,235 unduplicated visits in dental, July through December. Of these, 444 were indigent qualified. And for the self-pay category, 1,497, or 84% of these visits, were self-stated as indigent. So on the last portion of your packet there, you have the table that details the information for WeCare in terms of patients on the wait list, our scheduled appointments, our new referrals, July through December, and the average days to appointment. So you have that data. I know we're going to be discussing that in the task force for WeCare, but I wanted to give you that information as well. And then overall, on the right-hand side of your folder, you have our profit and loss statement, which will give you our income information in terms of what we received as revenues, our expenses, and that type of information, which you also request as part of our report. So in terms of WeCare, the exciting thing, Dr. Tuck, who's our ophthalmologist, has been seeing patients now, so that is excellent. We're very excited to have him. And our total patients in WeCare that we've seen so far were 671 for that period of time. So I'd like to answer any questions that you might have for us.
You mentioned WeCare.
Mm-hmm.
a year ago or so, several months back anyway, there was a big backlog in trying to get specialty care for people coming through Dr. Fountain's We Care program. How is that backlog now? And
we are continuing to work on that. I know that we've had a number of orthopedic clinics. That's helped significantly. The hospital has been wonderful on that. Neurology as well. We have made strides on. Oncology has been amazing in terms of the hospital for Scully Welsh. We've made strides. We continue to have patients come in on the waiting list, so it's ongoing. But it's gotten better.
it's better.
Yes, and we're thankful for your support in terms of We Care.
Okay, well, that was a matter of reconvening that task force. Of course, we've been a little busy with some other issues. But reconvening that task force. But I do think the word got over to the hospital, and I think you worked that out so that some of these patients could be seen in a more timely manner and didn't have to wait so long. But we do need to get together, and we do need to reconvene that task force just to make sure. I think there was question at the time, if I remember, as to where the hospital-employed physicians were going to come into that care, not just the physicians out in community. And, of course, that's always an issue. So we need to reconvene that task force. And I know that I was chairing that a while back. So we need to redo that. So I'm ready to get that together again.
I am not saying the problem's solved by any means.
No, it is not solved.
I am just saying I am thankful
it
for the support of the trustees in this effort.
Yeah, it's not as critical, but it is still, I would say, sort of critical. So we need to get on it and make sure these people are seen just like anybody else in a timely manner.
Absolutely.
Right.
At the same token, I know we had a backlog of, I don't know what we call them now since we don't have cards, but the number, financial assistance number, whatever. Okay. Are we better in terms of that backlog as well?
We are doing better. We have had some changes to the portal to where they can identify whether it's an urgent, a renewal, a We Care, dental, only, just general, so that we can kind of identify those so we can choose those first. We do have Daphne working on them, and I feel that they are better. We are also, as we get an invoice from one of the providers, if they don't have an HD number, they've been helping us by putting like an uploaded date. And what we do is we take that invoice and we look at those particular cases first, and we get them approved so that, one, if there's any issues, we can get back with the provider just to get the additional information in a timely manner, and then we can charge it.
But I know specifically, I mean, that we had the issues with the health department, and I guess, Miranda, I'm asking you, do you feel that
yes,
that
that's gotten quite a bit better. I think that was a learning process for us as well. And so we've worked with Jennifer. I hope Joelle's been helpful to you. And I think that's going much better. Again, it's the challenge of changing people's behavior, and we're doing the best we can to support our patients and trying to provide the service. But our appointments have decreased with the reductions that we've had to make.
The other thing is, I was reading through Aaron Grall's list of the things that have House bills that have passed through the House and all that, and one of them specifically related to health departments and children and all that. Just a quick question, because it had an expansion of services. Do they give you an expansion of money with that when they?
I'm not certain the bill that you're talking about, so I really couldn't comment on that. I do know there are several bills out there. One deals with the early learning coalitions.
This was specifically, at least in her letter, it was identified as one of the health bills, and it was specifically related to health departments and early childhood care. It sounded like almost something related with partners in that, too. I don't have it in front of me, or I would have said, but...
I'm not certain.
Okay. All right. Well, you should look it up in case it will impact you, it sounds like, if it passes
early
through.
in the session, so we'll see what ends up being passed.
We'll let you know if it gets any further.
Yeah, we're tracking those.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate how supportive the trustees have been of the health department, and I think that especially the work that you're doing with partners and supporting women's and children's health is important, and I am hopeful that that will continue.
You know, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. The work that you do at the county health department is really vital to the community health, and I applaud what you're doing.
Thank you.
At the same time, I'm disappointed that you can't give us a more specific follow-up on your request for We Care support. When the budget was presented and you and Dr. Fountain came and you pointed out, as I recall, 300 and something patients that were in backlog trying to get care, some as much as a year, for specialty needs that were not emergent, but nonetheless necessary. And you gave us several examples. And we funded money specifically to try to address that problem. And I felt like your answer was pretty vague, as you said it was better, but non-specific. And you were very specific about your need last spring. So I guess I fall back on what I was saying earlier. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And just one of the needs for metrics. And so we've funded money specifically to support that, and I'm glad it's better, but I'd kind of like to know how much better.
And please don't mistake, I apologize if you wanted that specific data today in terms of We Care more detailed than what I gave you. In terms of the information on the average days to appointment, I remember you said that you'd like to see that under 90 days, and that has made a difference in terms of neurology. GI is down. Orthopedics and neurosurgery is significantly down. But if you like to see a difference in the number of days between what's happened previous to now, if I misunderstood that, Alan, I will definitely get that fixed for the We Care Task Force. It was my mistake in terms of where you'd like me to present that data.
Okay.
Why don't we have a brief report at our next meeting, and we will convene and get that information and find out where we're still having problems, okay, what is improved, and then give a better report.
Yes,
okay?
That's not my intent to be disrespectful to your
I didn't
request.
interpret that way.
Okay.
I said what I felt.
Yeah, that's entirely fine.
I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, I know it's a lot of stuff you deal with. Thank you.
And please, I'm going to take advantage of the podium. We are we have influenza that's on the uptick in Indian River County. So if you have not gotten your flu shot, please do. Go ahead. But for our viewing audience out there as well, it's important. It's not too late. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Miranda. Appreciate it. Any unfinished business? New business? Tracy?
New business. I'd like to make a motion to the following resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Indian River County Hospital District. In order to fulfill our fiduciary duty as hospital district trustees and make the best informed decision regarding the 4 proposals for a potential merger of the Indian River Medical Center, a decision which will impact every citizen of Indian River County for decades to come, the following is resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Indian River County Hospital District. 1, Juniper Consultants is requested by this board to provide electronic copies of all documents relating to the takeover proposals by each of the 4 bidding organizations to the irmctomorrow.com and the irchd.com websites, as well as 10 full sets of all documents, 1 for each trustee and 3 for inspection by the public, to the hospital district by the close of business 1 business day after Juniper's consult's receipt of said documents from the bidding parties. 2, regardless of the timing of receipt of such full sets of documents from Juniper Consultants, each member of this board will have the opportunity to review her or his set of proposals for a minimum of 5 full business days before this board votes for approval of any proposal. 3, the 3 full sets of documents provided by Juniper Consultants designated for inspection by the public will be available for public inspection immediately upon receipt by the district. And 4, a workshop with the hospital district and Juniper will be held to discuss the proposals in the county meeting room posted to the public prior to any vote for the approval of any proposals. And Kate handed a copy of this to everybody.
So motion is on the table. Do I hear a second?
Should we second it for discussion?
I would second it for discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to try to get some clarification on your item 2.
Okay.
If we receive these documents the day after Juniper has them, and they're going to have them for 7 days or 8 days before they come to us, why do we need to go 5 days would be, I don't get that.
It's 5 days from their receipt. So if they receive them on the 22nd, then 1 business day after that, we should have receipt of those copies.
So it'll be the 23rd. So we should be ready to vote by the 28th, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying we would be voting on the 28th. We still have our joint meeting on the 30th to make those decisions, but we would have 5 business days.
After the 30th or before the 30th?
Before the 30th.
Okay.
It's so that we can get copies of the proposals ahead of that with sufficient time to review.
And that would be unfiltered. We wouldn't be getting the comments from Juniper when we get those.
Correct, because they said yesterday that they would not be giving us the summaries until the 29th.
Oh, I agree with that. I think that's not enough time from the 29th to the 30th. It's, you got to read it before you vote on it. We had some programs in Washington where they decided you've got to vote on it to see what's in it. And the disaster that resulted from that is still going on. So I think we need to have adequate time. I just want to make sure that we don't go beyond certain parameters. I spoke to Juniper at length today. As I had that question, why the time? And it seems to be very important to the suitors to get a rapid answer. And if we have it the day on the 20th, they're going to do it on the 22nd, the 23rd, and we're going to have our meeting on the 29th and our discussions on the 30th. I think that would be more than enough time. You're asking for 5 additional days beyond the 30th?
I'm asking for those 5 days between the 22nd and the 30th.
Okay, as long as we don't spread out beyond the 30th.
No.
Okay.
And I'd like to speak to number 4, which is the workshop for the hospital district and having it in a county meeting and posted to the public prior to the vote for approval. That workshop would be the 1 o'clock meeting that we would have after the joint meeting, but in a setting larger like this where it can be videotaped so that people can watch it that are not here, and that the community at large would have an opportunity to ask questions and get responses and not just have public comment as we've done in other meetings.
Okay.
So I don't support this. That's no surprise.
Not surprised.
No surprise. This has been a very careful and studied process. We carefully hired consultants that are considered one of the best in the business, both from legal as well as from an investment banking standpoint. From the beginning, we have had the process in front of us, the timing in front of us, and doing so to make this as professional a process as possible. This is not and we talked about it yesterday, but this is not a short-term vote. Every meeting that we've had has been in the public. The public has been welcome to come. The public has been welcome to comment. We have added the IRMC Tomorrow website. We added onto our website comments, questions, anything that the public has, any question that has been posed has been answered. The public has had a lot of time to be part of it and will continue to be part of it. The meeting, I don't know about any of the rest of you, but I get a lot of input from the public almost every day on, you should do this, you should do that, here's my thoughts, here's my experience. And all of that is shaping my thoughts. All of that input is shaping where I am and what I think. I don't know because I can't talk to the rest of you, but I know that I kind of know where I am, and I can't wait to have that discussion, that open discussion about here's what I really believe and what I really think. The proposals that come in will not, I don't believe, dramatically change anything, but I'm certainly looking for some specific things from some specific suitors, as I would guess that the rest of you are too, looking for some specific things, and I believe I will know that. I firmly believe there's two worst things that can happen. The very worst thing that can happen to this county is if we do nothing. That would be the absolute worst thing that we can do. We do have a responsibility to our residents, and that's why we started this whole process, because looking down the road, we knew that we would be unable to sustain high-quality health care for this community. And that's why we started this process. And that's why we have made it transparent, and that's why we have made it as professional as possible. The second worst thing we could do is disrupt the process that would cause suitors to walk away. We are difficult, and Jamie said it yesterday. We are difficult to start with. Because we are a board of the hospital, we are a board of trustees, public officials that are elected. We are difficult for these suitors to deal with to start with. We should be, and this county should be ecstatic, absolutely ecstatic, that we have 4 suitors, all very different from each other, but we have 4 that we can talk about, debate, and decide on. I would really hate to be in a position where we didn't have a choice, where we couldn't make those decisions, where that was made for us because people walked away. I'm a big believer in process. I always have been, and I truly believe that the process that we've done has done us well, and I would like to continue doing the same.
Yeah, my view is I support what Mary Beth had to say. As I look at this proposal, item 1 is, as I understand it, is for when the proposals hit Juniper, they're immediately passed out to everybody for review. And I think the process we approved and the process that is important to follow is to allow Juniper to get those proposals, analyze them. If there are questions, which no doubt there will be, call the suitors and find out what is really meant by the wording in some paragraph. If we do that in a public setting, it could be chaotic. So I think it's better that we get Juniper's professional review of it, so therefore I don't support number one. Number two, what we talked about yesterday was that, and we did discuss all this, is that once Juniper is able to analyze the proposals and to lay them out so that we get our questions answered in the joint meeting and then subsequent to that in our regular meeting, and we'll have a couple days to review these proposals with Juniper's guidance in advance, I think it's likely that that will be enough information to form a conclusion. Not because that's sufficient time to review the proposals, but because we've been at this for a year. We started this in February. We decided in August to select Juniper. In September, we began to ferret down, I think they went to 33 different hospitals. I, for one, have ranked every single hospital that these institutions own using databases that are available to me based on quality. I've done that. I haven't shared that data with you yet because you can do it on your own, but I'll share it when we get to the meetings to discuss it. I have already gone through and analyzed the finances of each one of these companies and have been able to sort them by financial sustainability. But that doesn't mean all my questions are answered. We'll wait and see what the proposal is, or what the proposals are. But when we get that, I think it's possible I'll be ready to vote the first day. I also think, as I indicated in the meeting, it's possible I won't be ready to vote after the first meeting and will want to delay for a day or two or three. I don't want to be compelled to delay 5 days, though, when I might already know much sooner. Particularly, I think the risk that Mary Beth underscored about this process driving some of the suitors away would be a disastrous impact. So I think we should take all deliberate speed. We should consider every single fact. But I don't want to risk running these people away, and I don't want to be compelled to have to wait 5 days to make that decision. Now, I could be persuaded differently if the professional of Juniper were to tell me that anything I've said is incorrect, because I really respect what Juniper's done. But failing that, those are the reasons why I wouldn't support this.
And Alan, those 5 days are not 5 days after our joint meeting. Those are having proposals and the ability to look at those proposals between the time Juniper receives them on the 22nd and the time that we get to vote on them on the 30th, or potentially vote on them on the 30th. I think it's important. There really is no reason we can't have those proposals. And I honestly feel like it's not going to impede the process, or we won't lose suitors. I don't think that's an issue at all. But that's,
and
again,
you base that on what?
That's my opinion.
That's your opinion.
Okay.
Is there other comments?
I respect what Tracy's saying. However, like you said, Juniper has done their due diligence. That's what their experience is in. That's why we got them. And we need to take that information that they've given us and the information that we found on our own, with our own research, along with the visits. And I agree. I think we need to move on it. Taking extra time is, sometimes just like studying for a test too long. Or changing your answer and being wrong in it. So I'm kind of in agreement that we need to move on it. I do agree that the day that we separate from the board to go make our decision, that if we feel that we need some more time, then I hope that we can have that time.
We'll have
And
that time. We will
that
have
was
that
a
time.
question that I had yesterday, so I was glad
So
to
my
hear
question yesterday.
that we could
Right.
extend
Yeah.
that time
did a great
if
job.
we felt like
We
we
I
will.
left early, so I missed that part.
We clear your calendar for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
yeah, you
However
know,
it is,
I just
we'll
go
see
talk
how
to
long it takes.
Omar Hashami. He'll let me know.
Anne Marie?
Well, I do respect Tracy's suggestions, but I think that you spoke very eloquently, Madam President, Chairman, and you as well. I don't think I spent this much time with this much guidance and diligence when I decided to marry Hugh McChrystal.
Maybe you
as
should
I-
have.
Maybe I should have. But I will tell you, I really feel like we have gone the extra mile. And you know what? I am comfortable. As I said yesterday at the chairman's meeting, I've been doing health care in this community over 50 years. My husband as well. And I'll tell you, if anything, this is probably the most prepared we have been towards this momentous decision we have to make for our community. And it is scary. It is scary. Mm-hmm. But I think you can overdo everything towards a chaotic situation. And I think that we've been guided well by the very best. And I think we will continue to look at everything. It doesn't mean we will come to a decision at all. But I think the hospital board has the same thing that they're going to be going through. And I think to add anything more onto the process that has been advised by our consultants would just muddy the waters. And anybody out there that knows us personally knows the time and effort we are spending in this
Absolutely.
process. We are not taking this lightly at all. So I appreciate what you have said, Tracy, but I think we have to do what we have to do and proceed according. And I think we'll have plenty of time to look at the proposals. You've looked at things before. Tracy, you spent a day, 12 hours almost, or 8 hours at the district office looking over everything. And I think that's good. And then we'll get sort of a consolidated look at the important pieces that we're very concerned about. And I think that's going to be fine. It's a big decision, so I can appreciate what you're saying. But I'm comfortable with the process as it is.
Well, I have several concerns, and I had originally thought time would be maybe not enough time when we were originally told that we'd have that 1 o'clock breakout from the joint meeting and then that day make a decision. And now that we've gotten more time, I think that's important that we understand that and we understand what our consultants are for. If we don't listen to our consultants, why the heck did we hire them? We could have saved the money if you want to get into that, and that would be ridiculous. Nobody here could ever have done what the consultants have done for us. And let's get realistic. They're professionals at this. We are not. We're amateurs. And this is a very, very difficult situation for the suitors because this is a complex situation. You have a hospital district that owns the hospital. You have a corporation, non-for-profit corporation that operates the hospital. You have a non-for-profit foundation that supports the hospital and the hospital corporation. All this is intertwined, and it's complex. And that's the reason you have only 4 suitors, and we have 4 very, very good suitors. And I think we have to take every reasonable action to protect the interests of our residents and not to chase suitors away. It is critical that this community maintain a community hospital. And I think everybody on this board understands that we're obligated to make sure that at the end of the day, when all is said and done, there will be an Indian River Medical Center existing here in this community. It'll be under a different management, a different corporation, and it will still be a hospital that serves this community. And we must understand, we understand that. And I think if you say they're allowing us extra time than they originally proposed, Well, I
But the
think-
intent is, Michael, the same as last time, that, we'll meet at 1 and we will debate as long as it takes for us to make a majority decision.
An informed decision.
Informed majority decision.
And that will be an open meeting. So
Absolutely.
the public will be totally there to view our discussions.
That's right.
Because I just like to make one comment about something that bugs the hell out of me. Excuse the language. We can't talk to each other. Only here. If we want to discuss now what we think about the suitors or the hospital, how the process is going, we could stay here till 3 o'clock in the morning doing it, and probably beyond. And unfortunately, I've had that experience with village boards where we would stay till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It is not a nice experience. And I don't think anybody here wants to do that, and we can't. We have to follow the Sunshine Law, which it really inhibits us from doing our job. And that's one thing that I like to say, because right now we're here together and we all understand what has to be done. I believe everybody on this board has the best interests of the community at heart. I don't think anybody has any malevolent feelings. And Tracy, I understand what you're saying, because I had brought up that topic last week in a press interview, that I thought time was trying to do it in one day was not possible and not feasible. But if we're going to have enough time to debate it and have an open debate and let it last for hours and hours and 2 days, 3 days, I think we could do it. If not, we're in deep trouble.
Karen, any?
Tracy, thank you for bringing this conversation up. I think it was a good one to have. I don't agree with your recommendations or your proposal. I don't think I need to say anything more than everyone else has said so eloquently. A lot of very smart people working on this process, much smarter than me. And we've been doing it for a very long time. And all of them, all the points are pieces through right from the very start, and the proposals that are coming out are just another piece of it, and it's not the full part. So I would not want to change any order that we have put in place at this time.
We have to vote, don't we?
We're gonna
I
ask for
think
public
this is an
comment on this important motion.
Yeah, this is an important discussion, so I think we'll take public comment before we take the vote.
Okay, good.
I'm surprised by that. I would just
This
say,
is important. We should.
It is important. Val Zudans, I would just say, you guys are misunderstanding the whole thing, I think. Okay, and here's why. These documents that Tracy is asking for to come out the day after are going to come out the day after you guys make the decision. Okay, the difference is, because that's what the law says. They get released. Everyone in the public is going to see all these documents 7 days later. You're not going to scare away any suitor by having the documents come out 7 days sooner than they would otherwise. They all know. Every suitor knows these documents are coming out. What you're doing is you're not letting the public inspect these documents. You're not letting the press. You're not letting individuals in our community. I look at a guy like Bob Allwater. Okay, if you guys know who Bob Allwater is, he's on Indian River Shores Town Council. He's retired. He worked for Vanguard, managed billions of dollars of bond funds. Incredibly smart guy. He's on Vero Beach Utilities Commission, and he's the chairman. Even though it's Indian River Shores Town Council, they have a representative there. He's been instrumental in our community in looking at the Vero Beach deal, the Vero Beach electric sale to FP&L, and done an incredible job. He sits on the school board's audit committee, and they have all kinds of problems, and he's helping them to fix this out. This is the kind of person in our community that you want to have access to these documents so he can give community input. The fiduciary duty of the hospital board of directors people is to the board of directors. Your fiduciary duty is different. Your fiduciary duty is to this community as a whole. Both parties want the best hospital, okay? But you guys want what's best for the community overall. And that is a bigger picture than what the hospital is looking at. Made some comments that that somehow that Juniper, we hired Juniper. No, you didn't. You did not hire Juniper. Okay? Juniper was retained by the hospital. They have a fiduciary duty to the hospital. They don't have a fiduciary duty to you. All they're looking at is what those board of director people, okay, at the hospital, what is in the best interest of that hospital. That may not be exactly what's in the best interest of the community. The reason why you have to have transparency is so that everyone in this community can see what's going on, have a week to look at this stuff, and the people who are leaders in our community can come out and give their input. People on our county commission should be involved in this. This should not be just closed in and controlled. What we're doing is we're controlling the information and the way you make the decision, and you're delegating that to Juniper, who's not even hired by you. So,
thank you. Any other public comment?
Well, actually, I want to ask a question that Val brought up, but I'd rather have Jamie answer it because you'll know the answer to this. Val said that none of the documents are going to be available to the public until a day after we make a decision. Is that accurate?
The summary will be available. Sorry.
Okay. Are the other documents going to be available?
Binders will be available Monday in the district office.
What will?
The
summary.
Why don't you let Jamie answer?
Well, I'm asking the question. I just want to know the answer.
Jamie? Jamie, can you come up to the...
My understanding to your question, Alan...
You might want to identify yourself.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Jamie Bergdorfer from Juniper Advisory. My understanding as a layperson of the Florida law as interpreted by Bill Boyles and Heather Graham from your Florida law firm in Orlando, Gray Robinson, is that the Florida law that pertains to this calls for the release to the public of the proposals. 2 days, I think it is. It might be 1 day after a decision is reached.
I can cite it for you.
I
can cite it. So it's Florida Statute 119.071. Sealed proposals are exempt from the public records until a notice of intended decision or 30 days after they are opened, whichever comes first. We're not even going to hold them exempt or closed from the public for that time period. As I understand it, it was agreed between counsel of both the district and the hospital that the summary will be available Monday, the full proposals after a decision is made, which could be as soon as Tuesday, January 30th, or when the decision is made. But we really have, under that statute, 30 days after they're opened or until a decision is made, whichever comes first. And it's not anyone's intention to complete that full time period before they're disclosed. And they'll also go on the website.
But they're all coming out either way.
Yes, they will be public.
Yes, they will be.
They will
be fully public. They'll be on the
public.
RMC Tomorrow website.
And understand that the decision made is to go further with hopefully a partner of choice that both the hospital and the district agree and have a non-binding letter of intent. So yes, all of that public input can be done. We have the right to change our mind if we can't come to an agreement.
I mean, so once the letter of intent is signed, okay, and then it's out to the public, I would assume that if the public is that concerned about the decision that was made, that waves will be made and they will be heard. And then
I'm going to assume that everybody isn't going to be happy no matter what decision is made. We know that. Also, I got to say that the original proposals were available for the public to be able to come through and read. I
mean, when you really think about how much public is out there versus how much public we've seen through this process that's been fully opened, makes you question a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
is there other public comment?
Can I just ask Jamie a question? As long as we have it, Jamie, I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
It was Dr. Zudan indicated that you didn't have a responsibility to the hospital, to the district, that you were an employee of the hospital rather than. You do have an obligation to the district to, don't you?
Our view is, well, of course, we do not have a fiduciary obligation to anyone. We are not a fiduciary. We are not a principal. We are an agent, to get the language straight. Our obligation as professionals is to elicit from the market of potential partners the very best partner and the very best set of terms that are available in the market for the residents of the county. It is, as a matter of technical necessity, the hospital is paying our fee, our transportation expenses to come down here and to meet with everyone, because in our view, taking the view that all of your political divisiveness, which has historically damaged the hospital in this county, is something we need to rise above at Juniper, and we encourage you to do that. This is the third largest state in the United States, and there is not a single hospital system or hospital in the top 20 in the United States. I live in a town and work downtown Chicago that is crumbling, that is losing population, and I can get on my bicycle or walk to 3 hospital companies that are in the top 20 in the United States, that are by definition world class. You have none in the third largest state and part of the reason you're witnessing right here. It's these laws and this divisiveness that is caused by it. If you take this in context and you look around the country, you tell me where a politicized process has ever resulted in an optimal outcome. It never has. I've studied them for 30 years. I watched from afar a disaster that could result here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, where there were town hall meetings for a year. No one wanted to buy that hospital. It is still struggling to come out of the abyss that it was thrown into by that. So as a student of these things, it's important to understand the context. You're not alone. This isn't the first local government domiciled and owned hospital that has ever sought to become part of a larger company. And so we're trying to do it for everyone in this county the right way so that you can have the best possible health care. And I encourage you to look at it that way. And I would just add to what Alan and Anne Marie and Mary Beth in particular said. You have a bunch of cooperatively agreed to objectives for the hospital. Cooperatively mean between yourselves and the hospital boards of directors. They number about 11, and you could really boil them down into 3 categories. You want the best hospital from a medical point of view that you have. You want to have a hospital that is financially strong and be part of a company that is financially strong. And you want to participate positively into the future of healthcare. Most of those, fully 2/3 of them, relate to the identity of the partner. Very few of them, 1/3 or less of those objectives, result from an analysis of what is in those proposals. So it's been our goal to help you. This is not an auction. The word bid should never be used. Those who use the word bid do not understand what is happening. Mm-hmm. An auction is a simultaneous process in which the identity of the suitor does not matter. Bids are received in an auction. An auction is auctioning off generic things, whether it's oil drilling rights in the North Sea or services to pick up waste in a large urban area. Not the most complicated economic enterprise in the United States, as defined by Peter Drucker. So an auction is when you're auctioning off oil drilling rights in the North Sea, and I've been over there and watched them do this. They're on television. They have an attractive young person open the sealed bids, and the highest bidder wins, regardless of the identity of the suitor. Here, I'm sure you'd all agree, and I applaud all of you, especially you, Tracy, for your tenacity and your thoroughness and your interest. But it's the identity of the suitor that is going to weigh on you. I would bet you $1, and I probably never made a bet in my life, is going to weigh on you as to who you think the best partner of choice is. The stuff in those proposals, we can review them in 15 minutes. It's not very complicated. It's just a bunch of numbers. But the hard work you all have put into travel and to listen to people here and to think about this comprehensively as to this identity of the suitors. Again, a competitive process, but not an auction. There are no bids. And it is not a generic item being auctioned. It's the most important thing here.
Thank
so
you, Jamie.
those are
Jamie,
my only comments. So I think you'll
so
have
well
plenty
said.
of
Thank you.
time.
Thank you, Jamie.
And you should have plenty of time, and my judgment is that you will have plenty of time.
However, I have to ask you a question.
Sure.
I'm sorry to do this, but on Sunday, we're going to have the summary available.
No.
No, not until Monday.
Until Monday.
Proposal
Monday, as I understand.
Okay, Monday now.
Sunday you will have the proposals.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. So we'll have all the proposals.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, that's the
trustees.
question I asked.
But then there's a summary.
There's a summary that's
What?
different than the
Yeah,
binding
there are the proposals, and then there's our summary
So
of
the proposals will be public.
No,
No.
they will be
Monday.
available
No,
to
right.
the trustees
and the hospital
on Sunday. The proposals, the full proposals.
Oh, I
The
see.
summary will be available to the public and the trustees on Monday.
Per the legislation that
Right.
was read
Yes.
tonight.
That was read tonight.
Everything
The
will be
legislation
released
doesn't
after a
require
decision is
that,
made.
though.
and published.
Okay, in any event, my view is they ought to, whenever they're available to us, they'll be available to the public. That's my opinion. And I don't necessarily want to wait 5 days to make a decision, but I don't see any point in delaying the proposals until
So-
after the fact. It looks like you're hiding something when you're not.
Can
So
Can
you
we
want- you
continue
have another
with
person
public
that wants to
comment,
make public
please?
comment.
Okay.
other public comment?
I'm
Kathy, did
speaking
you have
as a
something?
person.
You are a trustee up here.
Thank you, Jamie.
I'm Kathy Hendricks, and I'm a member of the hospital board. And before I make my comments, I'd like to thank you all on behalf of the hospital and on behalf of the board for the praising comments that you made today and the support that you're giving to the Partners program. So thank you. I, as a board member, feel that we, regardless who have hired them, we all have agreed to work with a nationally highly accredited consulting company who has done this procedure like a doctor. You want to go to the best, who's done a lot of these. I also am a believer in process, and so far the process has not failed us. I expect it not to fail us in the future. Like everybody has said, if at the end of looking at this we need more time, as Madam Chairman has said, we can have it. I would also like to say that in our open board meetings at the hospital, when we have discussed this process, I don't recall anybody on our board having an objection to the time frame of the way the process works. I feel we've hired the best. I feel we should trust them to guide us through this process as the expert that they are. And I'm a firm believer that we should just stick with the way that we have things, what we agreed to, quite frankly, in the very beginning of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Am I allowed to just say one sentence?
No, I think there's another public
Oh, okay.
I was happy that Jamie clarified it. He's good.
Matt Reiser, a member of the board over at the hospital as well. Actually, I'm a little bit puzzled as to why we're hung up, or the group here is hung up on 3 days or 5 days or all the time they think they're going to need and require to go through those proposals. And I'm not sure what you intend to do with that time. If you're talking about quantifying the proposals and crunching numbers and so forth, in my view, that's not what we're trying to accomplish here. It's not about numbers. It's about the appropriateness of the fit. culture, mutual understandings, all the things that you people articulated in your district meeting yesterday. Those are the soft items that I think we have to dwell on and think about here. Forget the numbers. We're going to get the numbers from any one of these four groups. They all told us, whatever it takes for you people to be successful, we're going to support you on, and we'll give you the numbers. So I wouldn't want to see somebody get hung up on this number's 180 or that number's 120 or this other number or something beyond that. It's the appropriateness of the fit, and that's. Absolutely. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
That's absolutely true.
Here comes Jerry.
Good afternoon. I'm Jerry Smith, and I'm a member of the Hospital Board of Trustees. Or Board of Directors, you're the trustees. My reason for coming up is something that Jamie said, going back when you asked him the question, Dr. Weiss, about why we're here. It brings me back to the collaboration committee this summer that worked before you were even hired. And actually, there were so many opportunities for the public to listen and to speak and to give us input. And I think that I've lived in the sunshine my entire career, and I believe in the sunshine process. I believe in not talking to any of the board members here and listening to you. But we also believe in listening to the community, and I think that's important. And I think one of you said, it might have been you, Madam Chair, that you're hearing from a lot of community members, and I'm hearing from a lot of community members. I grew up in this community, probably the only one here who can say that. I love this community, I'm proud of this community, and I'm very, very proud of what all of us are doing. Tracy, Karen, Michael, Mary Beth, Alan, Anne-Marie, Barbara.
She grew up in the
Barbara,
community.
did you?
I
Okay,
did.
great.
I did.
I didn't know that, so I just and it means a lot. But I think my point of coming up is that we have had this collaborative effort even before we hired the consultants to hear from the community. I think our board is confident that we followed the process. Everyone is nervous about this, though. And Tracy, I can relate to exactly what you were saying, because it's time that we need to take time and we really need to think. Are we having enough time? Are we looking through? And I think everyone is nervous about that. But I feel confident that it's not going to be easy, but we're going to come to decisions. So I thank you for what you're doing, and I thank you for your hard work with this. Believe me, we all feel the pain, and we're going through this. But the community does too. The community is nervous, but the community is very excited about this at the same time. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you have
No, I just wanted to say that I don't want to blow anything up either, and I'm not trying to blow anything up. All I'm saying is this proposal is not what you're debating right now. This is not going to scare away anyone. It's a question of the 23rd or the 30th. When does the public get it? Is it before or after you make the decision? I think the public should get the information before you make the decision.
Thank you. Okay, there's a motion and it's been seconded, so we'll take a vote. So all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
And all no?
No.
No. Motion does not pass.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up. And thank you for the discussion, because I think it's important.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that.
And I have to say, and just as another statement, Michael's point about sunshine and not being able to talk to each other, it is very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. But I really look forward to, once we have the last piece of information, and I call it the last piece of information because we have a lot of pieces of information and feelings and input and all of that kind of stuff. I look forward to next Tuesday having a very rigorous, honest, and open discussion on all of our feelings. So,
And I would encourage the public to come.
We have encouraged the public since day one.
I know.
We have encouraged them to be here, and
what is happening?
Sounds like an airplane.
We've ticked them off.
No,
Is there any other?
I do have one comment. And Jamie, you did make a statement that that sort of pertained to the divisiveness. And I think that in the past there has been divisiveness. I'm comfortable with my position on this district board now, that I think that this group of district trustees is working in a less divisive, more cooperative, collaborative manner with our wonderful Indian River Medical Center. I haven't felt that confident in that in a long time, but I do now. I just want you to know. Okay, moving forward, this decision is going to be a together decision, well thought out.
Is it on the website, the location and time of that meeting yet?
Of the 30th? The location and time is 9 o'clock in the morning. It is at the Intergenerational Center, which is on Oslo Road. You can't miss it.
Big red building.
It's a very big red building, and it's open to the public. We had it at the Intergenerational Center because it is a large facility that can hold a large amount of people, so we encourage everybody to come. And then when we come back, we'll convene. If we need to look at finding a bigger facility for us to convene, we can look at that. Okay, to acknowledge your.
There and break off into another.
Well, I think we need to decide all of that.
We can talk about that, but yes.
Right.
So yes, the public is welcome. Thank you for bringing that up, Barbara.
On the website today. It will be on the website as soon as they post it.
Okay.
I don't know if it has been yet.
It should have been posted today.
I'm sure the
but
date
I'm not
is,
sure.
but I just didn't know if the location was.
The location.
That's why.
Is there any other business? Any other public comment? Okay. Hearing none, we will adjourn for the evening. Thank you.